Welcome back to Fortune and Friendship, the podcast where we believe your most valuable asset is your network. I'm your host, Corey McNabb, and each week we'll connect with inspiring guests who are making waves in their fields. Together, we'll explore how collaboration and friendship can lead to incredible opportunities and success. Each episode, guys, you'll hear from entrepreneurs, creative investors, and thought leaders who will share what they're currently working on and how we can join forces to create something amazing. Whether you're looking to expand your own network or discover new ways to collaborate, you'll find actionable insights and fresh ideas right here. So let's settle in and remember, it's not who you know that counts, it's who knows you. That being said, someone that you absolutely should know is Mr. Caleb Christopher. Caleb, how you doing, man?
Wonderful. I love the reversal. Whenever I heard that quote, it's not who knows you or you who you know, but who knows you. I was like, as an entrepreneur, that is so true. As an employee, it's the other way around.
That is true. Absolutely.
Incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love it.
It's powerful, and when I was coming up with the new branding of the podcast, because initially it was Your Net Worth's Network. After like 40 episodes, I realized everybody kept getting tongue twisted, so I decided to change it up, make it a little more simple.
Dude, I
But
do not have what it takes to run that many episodes of any show. So congrats to you. I mean, kudos to you for real. Like I don't have what it takes to do that. So good work.
it's been fun. It's been fun. But this episode is not about me. It's about you. So
Oh,
Caleb,
it's always about you though. If I'm doing my job, it's about you too.
so I know you a little bit. You're huge in our community, but for those who are watching this on YouTube who have never heard your name, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I like to approach it like this. Caleb Christopher is just some guy until you need him. And then he's the expert you really, really need. He's built a team of people who really know what they need to know to help you out. And so if you never do creative finance and you never get in a bind, you don't need to know my name. But if you're doing sub two, seller finance, wraparound mortgages, contract for deed, anything creative finance, you're going to want to know my name because I started a company called Creative TC and we're doing 50 transactions a month nationwide to make sure buyers, sellers, realtors, and their moms can sleep at night that their deal was done the right way.
Wow. Okay. So you you created a TC company. For those of you who don't know what TC stands for, is transaction coordination.
And I'm
Uh,
going to press the envelope and say that my team specifically is transaction consultants. And so, yes, we do coordination, but that's like the foundational layer. But up here, we're also doing consulting. So we're gut checking deals. We're advocating for you when an attorney or title company or an agent or a seller is not cooperating. We can take them right back to the contract and rub their nose in the stink they made.
oh wow. Okay. So there you go. This is like your ultimate bodyguard for.
Oh, I like that transaction bodyguard. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Your transaction bodyguard for your
Well,
creative deals.
and listen, you put me on stage, so I'll have to brag a little bit. We've got 170 right now, 170 five-star reviews on Google. Not nothing else, just 5 stars across the board.
Okay. That's huge. And how many of those did you pay the people to do 5 stars?
They all paid me. That's how we get
Oh,
them. Well, a couple that when I was at a trade show talking, I said, hey, if this was a helpful talk, leave me a review because it helps my company and helps other realtors, et cetera, understand that we know what we're talking about. And so there were a couple of those where they didn't pay me.
okay. But you haven't paid anybody.
No, never,
So there
never
you
would.
go. There you go, guys. If that's not trustworthy, I don't know. I don't know what is. But anyway, so let's backtrack. We know where you're at now for the most part. You got the ultimate creative transaction bodyguard company. Um, how did you get to that point? How did it all start?
Shoot, man. So starting this transaction coordination and consulting company started when I did my first creative deal. Did my first sub two. I was being a JV closer for people that were wholesalers. Hey, let me turn your trash into cash. Let me call your dead leads, et cetera. And so I started closing deals with subject to offers. And I'm like, this was before transaction coordinators in creative finance were a thing, and they were supposed to be. And I'm looking around, I'm in my online community saying, hey, who can help me? Who's got the right paperwork? I talked myself into a deal. I got the verbal close. Where's the contract? And then Where's all this and the next thing and the next thing? And then I'm in escrow and I'm like, this is what people are doing? They're trusting title companies to get this done the right way. They're closing with incomplete documentation. And I'm like a super nerd on attention to detail. I actually read those long agreements. And so I'm like, this can't be everything that's on the line. This can't be what people are doing. You've got to be kidding me. Like William Shatner, like all the motion, man. I'm like, this can't be what's happening. And I'm looking around and I'm asking, who's got SOPs? Who can help this community? Who's been there and done that? Can somebody step up and help us? Nobody, not a single person. Nobody was willing to share or any of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to start a company to manage this sort of thing because I'm not capitalized to touch 200 deals, but I am set up and I'm smart enough to go touch 200 of other people's deals and learn them from the inside. I want to see every state. I want to see every type of deal, every variant, every challenge, and I want to build quality paperwork and forms and standardize the process to make this better and safer for everybody. Because with creative finance, creative finance is legit. Too legit to quit, I'm telling you. However, it is very easy for a creative finance deal to be done in a manner that is unethical, whether intentionally or not, without the proper guidance. And I won't stand for that. That's not okay by me.
Interesting. Okay. So this was first deal, and that's when you started to notice all the ways things could go wrong and how there was no actual structure.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yeah.
The dad from next door, just holy crap all the time. That
Yeah.
was my continuous reaction. The first 2 or 3 creative deals I did. Like, this is what people are working with?
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay. So
that's how I started and why I started Creative TC. It was specifically because of that. But as I'm observing my life, looking back, I'm noticing that I have the pattern of sticking my head up, saying, hey, there's a problem. Anybody who's experienced, can you like step in and do something maybe? Like give some guidance to some people? And they're too busy. They're not looking back. They're driving forward. And that's okay. There's different types of people. But I'm the type of person where I'm like, somebody's got to do something about this. And I guess it's got to be me. And so that actually goes back to my days in prison. I had to get out of prison at one point. I was at Lansing Correctional Facility, and as a guard, I was a guard there, and I wanted to do better things. Like your job was basically sit down, shut up, take prisoners here and there, no new ideas, no creativity. That's instability, and I understand that's their system. But what an oppressive system. It was not for me. And it was when I put a Bible verse in my email signature and a supervisor said, "You can't do that." I remember the tone of his voice. That I realized that I can't stay here either. It's not okay. Like there's no room for expression, and I'm such a creative person that it's going to kill me to be in here. I had disciplinary issues at the prison because I'm like, hey, can we change things up? Can we do things better? There's always a better way. And they're like, no, cut that out. So I had to escape prison. And I did that by going to an IT boot camp. 6 months, when I heard my friends talking about this IT boot camp, 6 months or less to change careers, I'm working night shift. I got a wife and a kid at home. I don't like where I'm at. The prisons, the government jobs, basically. And nothing against the people that work in government jobs, but they pay enough to keep you there, but not enough to take you anywhere in most cases. And they got great benefits and all sorts of other stuff. And I'm like, this is a black hole I've got to escape. It's killing me. So, yeah, IT boot camp. I got my job in less than 4 months, and I had to double up on night school to finish my stuff. Lots of lessons learned in prison. I got bit like 2 weeks before my finish and all sorts of stuff. So happy to be out of there. But in IT, my company was like, oh, thank God. This guy wants to make changes and improve things. And so I was appreciated for my creativity and like, they're like, go improve stuff. Go ahead. Use your brain. I'm like, yes. So, I mean, I saved him like $50,000 to $75,000 a year by cost cutting with efficiency and software and things like that. So it's just fun to do that. And then I discovered creative finance and I was like, yes. So I loved it.
And see, that's interesting because I work as a firefighter. It's a county government, but still a government job. And you're absolutely right.
It's based on seniority, not based on
absolutely,
merit. I hate it.
absolutely. There is because I listen to a lot of I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Frisella, stuff like that. That's basically the whole branding.
Oh, okay.
But he's CEO of First Form, these supplement companies and stuff like that, and he always talks about uh, some people need to be entrepreneurs, right, in someone else's company, but able
Yeah.
to, you know,
Yeah.
provide value, stuff like that. And I'm like, that sounds cool, but you can't really do that in a government job.
No.
Like, because honestly, I don't get paid to help people. We do help people, and it's
Mhm.
great. I get paid to be ready to help people.
Yeah.
You can't really improve that. Like,
Yeah.
so
If you want to
I've been
improve firefighting and life-saving practices, you've got to do it 10 levels higher and away from there so that the practice is trickled down. You're not going to do it from the ground level, even as
right,
maybe as a supervisor a little bit, but that's just with regard to the readiness, right?
right, right. So you went from a similar situation, which everybody kind of
I
knows
wanted to be a
about.
firefighter.
Yeah,
I think I'd be happy as a firefighter. Well, around here in Kansas City area, they're like 24 hours on and 48 hours off. So it's
yeah,
like, yeah. And I'm like, a weekend after every day of work? Yeah, I'd take that. I had a
pretty
lot
much.
of friends that were firefighters, did construction on the side, renovate
Mhm.
houses and things like that. Like, it's a good gig.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Nothing against that one.
Just honestly, it's a better gig if you don't need it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, um, but hearing that, it's interesting for me hearing that the prison system is oppressive. Cool, I understood that,
No
but
surprise.
from the guard's point of view, that was
Yes.
actually surprising.
Yes, it is. And okay, so you work in government. If you have a troublesome coworker, you know it's darn near impossible, and you turn out to be the D-bag if you report somebody for something unethical.
Yep.
I'm surrounded by unethical behavior on both sides, inmate and guards. And there's that whole, I mean, cops won't call you law enforcement, but you're classified as law enforcement. And so you're a cop, but not a cop in so many ways. And there's a thin blue line, like we all, we protect our own.
Hmm.
And I'm like, BS. How about be honorable and I'll defend you? If you're
Right.
dishonorable, I'm like, no, I reported people. One guy ended up in prison. One of my coworkers ended up in prison, and I had reported him for bad behavior that was indicative of much worse things. And they're like, can't do anything about it. And then a month and a half later, he's in prison. He literally stalked somebody, violating a restraining order. I'm like, this dude is saying things he shouldn't say. He's going to be a liability to the department and all sorts of other people. And so I've always wanted to do good. Like, I'm not snitching just to snitch. I'm like, this is a major liability to
Right.
himself and others, and he's making in a prison, instability causes danger to both staff and inmates. So it's a physical safety issue as well.
Mm.
Anyway,
So, so you got out.
yeah, I got out of prison. I call that an escape. I worked there 5.5 years.
Okay. That's about where I am with the department. So you get out, you go to IT. What what was your main focus in IT? I know very little about IT other than
Sure.
what you see on TV, where you go and restart a computer.
That was half the job, actually, restarting people's computers. I mean, a lady calls me and says, my computer's off. And I'm like, okay, don't hate me, but I do have to ask this. Is it possible you kicked the power strip underneath your computer? There's no lights anywhere, you're telling me. Nothing. Did you kick the power strip? No. Do me a favor and check. Nope, it's off. Nope, nope, it's not it. Okay. And I walk up there. It's like a quarter-mile walk. And I reach under the desk, flip the power switch on, and the computer turns on. That's so you learn a lot of patience. And
Yeah,
guess what? There's one side where setting stuff up is part of your job, but also other people's challenges, incompetence, if you want to call it that, is also the basis for your job. And so there's a lot of really cynical IT people. And I'm like, hey, relax a little bit on that. The fact that they can't run their computer is the basis for you having a job.
that's
So how
true.
about you appreciate people for who they are? Because there's a lot of really elitist, brainiac IT guys, which are the typical ones you hate. And you love to see them mess up because they're always hating on people who are messing up. No, really judgmental. So, just being in that, I'm like, man, I got to get to a supervisor position of some sort. And so I ended up also I got a bachelor's in cybersecurity.
Okay.
So risk management, I'm always looking at things that how can this be better? That's my value add is how can somebody make this better? And I look at an IT environment and I'm like, can we improve cybersecurity by doing this? Can I train people about how to do something so that they don't have to ask as many times and the quality of their work improves and they save X minutes per day in researching stuff? So in soft returns, I gained the company tens of thousands of dollars a year, and in hard returns, by consolidating software, I saved them 50 to 75,000 a year. I documented it for management.
Okay. So you're doing a lot of risk management even now, right? For
Oh
people's
yeah,
deals.
that
It makes me wonder, did something happen to you? Was it the prison system? Was it something before that that just really kind of drove you to, hey, I want to help other people avoid these risks? Was there something specific, personal that happened to you? Or
no,
what do you think brought you into this desire to help manage risk for people?
it's who I've always been. Actually, if I go back to my high school days, my friends and I like to do stupid stuff. But if I wasn't there, they would be doing stupid stuff without helmets. Like that's the difference. Caleb is the guy that helps you put a helmet on. I mean, I've been dragged on my knee pads with a rope behind a car at 37 miles an hour. But guess what? I figured out a way to do it less unsafely. I'm happy to do crazy stuff. I'm happy to help you do crazy stuff. That's why I'm in creative finance. Everything is custom and weird and like I love that adventure. But there's got to be a less risky way to do what you want to do. And that's what I love figuring out. It's a puzzle and I'm building the solutions. And once I build a solution, I'm like, let me train somebody else on this because I've solved this problem. What's the next one? So
Interesting.
I've
Okay.
always been that way.
So, in regards to, well, hang on, I don't want to bypass anything. So, prison, IT, at some point in that time, you went and got your bachelor's in cybersecurity.
Yep.
Um, I guess how
Oh, how
long
did I
were
get
you?
into real estate is the real
Yeah,
turning point here. I
that's where I
read,
was going next.
so I wanted to sell my first house, but I couldn't sell it for my asking price. My realtor made a mistake. He let it go under contract as is offer, but it really wasn't an as is offer, and he didn't explain to me how they could still back out and cancel. And it looks really bad when something goes under contract and then back on the market. And so
Mhm.
they were really close to my asking price, so I was like, okay, let's go ahead with that. But then if you go under contract near your asking price and come back off, you're never going to get your asking price. Never going to happen. And I told him that was my concern in the first place, and he's like, "No, we're good with this. It's an as-is offer. They're going to go through with it." And then they inspected, and they were like, "Nah." I'm like, and then I didn't even get to keep my EMD from them. I was like,
Oh,
what is the point, dude? What did you? I'm really frustrated with you right now." Anyway, that turned out to be a blessing. So I'm glad I didn't burn any bridges or anything like that. But I did tell him I was frustrated with him because I didn't understand, and I felt like, oh my gosh, there's a wasp in here.
uh-oh.
Well, if I scream, you know why. I told him I was disappointed and that I was expecting that him to stand in the gap and help me understand those things, and he didn't do that. So, but then I ended up having to refinance that property. The only reason I was selling was to get the property next door to my in-laws, and we love it. I've got 4 kids, but I couldn't afford it unless I got the cash out of the first house.
Mhm.
Turns out I had a kick butt loan officer who understood investment properties and seasoning, and he said, if you get a lease for this property, I can refinance it and get you into the other property. I said, really? He said, yep. Show me a deposit for first month's rent and a signed lease for 1 year, and you're good to go. I said, rock on, man. Let me go do that. So I did, and then I got into this house. Long story short, I've got 2 houses. Accidental landlord is a short version. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I wanted to put my head through the wall at how much time I had wasted. I was like 32 or 34 or something like that. I don't know how. I was in my 30s, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This whole time, I would have changed so many things if I could go back to 17 or 18 years old, knowing what I know. So that's my entry into real estate. I always knew it was good, but I was like, wait and get into real estate rather than get into real estate and wait.
Gotcha. Okay. So, became an accidental landlord and moved into your new house. You said you're loving it. I'm catching up to you in kids. I got my third due in December, so
Congratulations, that's
there
coming
you
up
go.
soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're waiting. Both our first two went. Let's see. Our first one was, I think, 41 and 6 days. 41 weeks,
Wow.
6 days. Our second was like 41 and 3 days or something like that. My wife is like, maybe this one will at least be on the due date.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. Um,
Oh yeah, you want it for tax reasons. You want that baby before the end of the year, don't you?
no, we're just really good at planning. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
So she wanted either a March or December baby.
All right.
And December was first. So yeah. Anyways,
Guy's got to take what he can get, right?
that's right. Um, so what happens after that? Was the sub two deal that kind of pushed you into creative transaction bodyguarding?
Yeah, so I bought into the sub 2 mentorship. So I listened once I read that book, I then went and found Bigger Pockets, obviously easy find, listened to their entire podcast while I mowed my yard and refinished my basement and worked on my rental house. And like I knew all the things backward and forward, and I'm like, what's the next level? I have to put this into action. So I went under contract to buy a flip, also found Pace Morby and sub 2, and I'm like, take my money, because that was creative finance. And I'm like, I live outside the box. Let me learn this. Yes, and so that was fun for me. And then I started JVing into deals by helping people close because I learned really fast. My bachelor's in cybersecurity, I took 36 credit hours, maybe 32, in my last semester because you're allowed to test out. And I'm like, cool, I'll read the book, take a practice exam, and I'm out of here.
Okay.
So yeah, and they were flat rate, so I'm like, flat rate, yeah, let me cram these in.
All right. Okay. So and how long ago was that whole, because it sounds like it was a quick transition. I don't know the actual time frame, but so you become accidental landlord and now you're starting a TC company. Like what's the time frame there?
2 years.
2 years.
First year was learning and saving money for my first investment property. Then I bought the property and sub 2 mentorship at the same time. Did a lot more learning, started working on people's teams, practicing, and just drinking from the fire hose, and then started closing my first deals about a year in.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
starting a TC company right after my first couple of deals.
Okay. So now we're caught up to date. All right.
Yep.
You're
That company's 2.5 years old now, and we're on track for 800K in revenue this year.
wow.
So we're touching a lot of stuff.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
what I wanted.
So what's the, I would say, and this is more so for people watching that know creative finance. We're not going to get into the details of like how it all works unless you really want to. Um, but what's the biggest thing you've been able to help uh, people with on their deals, or help bring awareness to for people who are doing creative finance deals?
A lot of times it's the quality of the contract and the terms and conditions that make it enforceable when a seller starts bucking. I will be the first to tell my clients, if you have a seller that does not want to be in this deal long term, try to find an exit unless it's so good that it's worth fighting in court over, because they can ruin your deal. Whether there's a penalty against it or not, they can ruin your deal. And if you're going to be upside down and the deal's not going to be worth it while you're fighting them at the same time, move on to the next deal. I'm the first one to say that. Make sure you consider that as a valid option. Sometimes the best deal you do is the one you don't do, because that one bad deal is going to take you down and away from making 3 or 4 other deals. So having quality paperwork that's enforceable and explaining to people, making sure they understand, because just having somebody initial a bunch of stuff and sign a contract does not mean they understand it, and which
Right.
can still come back and bite you in the butt. Yes, legally you have the grounds to force the issue, but I do not want to force the issue with a creative finance contract where if somebody suddenly feels like, oh, I never actually understood this. So I want to establish a basis of, this is what you're doing, these are the risks. You're asking some good questions, but here's some extra questions that you should be asking, so that I just want to make sure you fully understand the transaction. And now let's get this thing locked in. That's what we help with.
Okay. So what does that process look like? Someone gets, let's say, a verbal agreement for a creative deal.
That's
Is that when
exactly the
they
starting
come to
point.
you?
There's two places to do that. Well, okay, so if you have random questions, you can actually, we just opened our front doors. We're a virtual team. I've got 13 people. I've got a receptionist. So if you have a question, if you don't know where to start, if you think you're ready to start and you've got questions, visit creativetc.io. That's my website, and click the button to join our virtual office. It's literally a live Zoom, 5 days a week, like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central. You can step in. Miss Ilza Prinsloo is probably the person that will say, well, hello, welcome to Creative TC. And you'll say, hey, can I meet with somebody about something? I've got some questions. And she'll put you with somebody. We literally have a front door you can walk in from the website. So that's number one. You don't even have to have a deal yet. Number
Okay.
two, if you do get the verbal, like you said, that's an excellent starting point. We have a contract write-up service. I feel like a salesperson, but I'm excited about this because it's actually solving problems. So if
Absolutely.
you have a verbal, you can use our contract write-up service, and that's 197. My manager, my ops manager sets pricing, but I think that's where it's at right now. And we've got contract specialists on standby. We get 3 to 5 of those per day where people are like, I got the yes, how do I move forward? And so we help you put it on paper. And we've got a DocuSign account set up. And if you need Q&A with the realtor or their mom or whoever's cousin, cool, let's schedule it. It gets pretty easy there. And then if you use that, or if you go get your own contract signed, then you can bring it to us for transaction, what we call transaction management. So
Okay.
ask questions for free, have us help you write your contract, or just have us manage your transaction. And those are the three ways to work with Creative TC. And like I said, I've got 13 employees there, rocking and rolling, live Zoom virtual office every day. Everybody's in there. And the problems I'm getting right now, then remember I told you once I solve something, I'm like, somebody else handle this. I want to move on to
Yep.
the next. The next thing that I stick my head up and I'm like, who's gonna do something about this? Is due on sale clause. And so I'm on a mission to take down the due on sale clause. We have already fixed it more than a dozen times at Creative TC. So I know it can be done consistently.
Okay. So, so just real quick for those who are tuning in that are like, what are these people talking about? Um, Go look up Pace Morby if you want to know about creative finance. But due on sale clause, or Caleb if he's got videos. I'm sure you do.
I do. I even have a
Um,
17-minute video reading it and explaining it line by line what it means and why you can't get around it sometimes, or
okay,
how to
well,
get around
scratch, go back, ignore what
it.
I just said. Go check out Caleb's YouTube channel or Instagram or wherever. I think that video was YouTube, right?
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, and learn about creative finance. But due on sale clause is like the big bad wolf in
It's
creative
the
finance,
scary one.
especially for sub two transactions.
Yep.
Um, so, and just a brief rundown of that, guys. It's basically the bank goes, "Holy crap! This property that we're lending on just sold because we see it in our database. Somebody else is making the payments or whatever. Let's try and get all our money back." Um, so how have you fixed that problem in the past? And then you said you're trying to get rid of it. It seems like, what are your ideas on that?
I'm going to take away all its power to threaten us. So this is Finley. She just got up from her nap.
Oh,
Yeehaw. So the due on sale clause is where the bank can come accelerate the loan. That means say, hey, we noticed you sold it. That's a violation of the mortgage, and therefore you owe the full remaining $274,000 in the next 30 days. Ugh, that's scary. Yep, it should be scary. It is scary. However, you can restructure the transaction. You can rebuild the transaction. The bottom line is that the borrower, your seller, has the right to cure the default. That means they did something that the bank says, we don't like that. You can't do that. But the bank can't just say, too bad, now we're going to foreclose. They say we're accelerating the loan. And then when you don't pay it, they can foreclose. However, you also have the opportunity to cure that default. Well, if the default was you transferred the deed to somebody else other than yourself, number one, we can deed it back to them. The trick on how to manage that is all about what state are you in, what kind of loan is it in, what's your exit strategy, meaning are you holding this, are you selling it on a wrap, Are you okay? Are you just renovating it and you're going to sell it soon anyways? So there's so many different factors that come in. And I have a page about due on sale on Creative TC. So if you search Creative TC due on sale, there's an explanation of all the different factors that you need to look at that shape which of the 8 strategies do we take when it comes to managing or remediating the due on sale clause.
Gotcha.
And so I've been studying that. I've been reading the notices. I've been getting copies of people's due on sale notices. I went, back and forth with a due on sale attorney for a bank on a deal and negotiated the terms that they would accept for the cure. It's just, you can fix it multiple ways.
Gotcha. Okay. And so your ultimate goal, you said, was to take the power away. Do you have like any ideas of how you're going to do that yet, or is that your main problem that you're
No,
working
I've already
on?
got it. So number one, we can fix it when it comes up.
Right.
But that doesn't help somebody who's still scared of it in the front end. And so what I want to do is empower wholesalers. Remember, across the board, I like to fix things and make them better. I
Mm-hmm.
also have a penchant, maybe is the right word. I don't know. This desire to remove the possibility of unethical things from happening. And so when it comes to private lending, when it comes to subject to deals, creative finance, there's a lot of liars that are just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's nothing to worry about. I'm like, that is something to worry about. I mean, we can factor it in and fix it, but it is a risk that you need to understand and make an informed decision about. And so when it comes to the due on sale clause, I know I can fix it, but I also want to empower wholesalers when that objection comes up to be able to say, oh, we'll get a guarantee against it. I got this company, DOSGuard, they sell a guarantee that it won't happen, and if it does happen, they'll fix it for you. Now the wholesaler can do that without lying,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, oh, it's not a problem, because it is. And the wholesaler's not the one who's got skin in the game long term. They're putting together a deal, a subject to deal, and handing it off.
Right.
So it's the most ethical path that I can think of to set it up where there is a guarantee against due on sale. You use our people, our processes, and our paperwork, you're solid. It's less likely to happen in the first place. And if it happens, it'll get fixed. And that makes realtors who have a fiduciary duty to their clients, that means they're an advisory role and they have a government issued license or government recognized license of agency.
Mm-hmm.
Agency is acting on behalf of another. They have all this stuff at stake, and willy-nilly saying yes to sub 2, not smart. Not smart at all. Relying on established people with reviews and experience, etc., that is the way to go. What does Proverbs say? For in an abundance of counselors, a city stands.
Yep.
I'm misquoting it, but you got the idea.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly what
so bringing in, you look like a little zombie. Oh, there you go. Bringing in a whole set of expertise is really what makes it okay for a realtor to say, yes, I'm comfortable saying, yes, you can and should do this deal.
Okay.
So
And
it
so
helps.
you had mentioned, I think you said DOSGuard.
Yep.
That's your guarantee, or is that a
Yeah, that's the
separate
company
company?
name. It's DOS, like due on sale,
Mm-hmm.
and then the word guard. DOSGuard.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Cool.
DOSGuard.io, you're going to recognize an IO theme for me. I come from tech, so IO is like the hip, trendy tech domain name. So
Okay.
I have creativetc.io, DOSGuard.io, calebchristopher.io. It all works out. So DOSGuard, though, is the one that's going to stand in the gap to make your deals safe and okay to do, providing comfort for sellers, assurance for buyers, assurance for realtors, ethics for wholesalers. And then for private money lenders and partners, I feel that this is a great way to get some skin in the game from the buyer. A lot of times the person doing a sub 2 deal or a wrap deal is the one structuring it, but they don't like using their own cash or not very much
Mhm.
of it. And so they need private money lenders or partners. But guess who is in the last position when it
Those
comes to
lenders.
paying out in a foreclosure or a refinance or anything like that? It's those lenders. And so if your buyer's not going to put much skin in the game, then they should pay to protect yours. And that's what DOSGuard is for. So we're selling at closing, we're selling a guarantee against due on sale.
Okay. And so I'm sure, guys, go check out DustGuard.io right now.
It's a one-page website as of November 12th because we
Boom.
launched in November. So,
Okay.
but I'm building lots and lots of content.
Okay. Um, so is it similar to, or let me rephrase this. Is it designed to work with your TC company, or is it a totally separate
No,
thing?
they're separate. I had a
Oh,
conversation with the manager of Creative TC. I said, look, I'm, like I'm the founder of both companies, but I said, I'm representing DOSGuard and you're representing Creative TC. And your job is to fight for their interests, and I'm going to fight for my interests. And we're going to have a negotiation about pricing, about how we engage as business partners, because they're two separate companies, completely separate.
gotcha. Okay. So did you appoint your manager for Creative TC, or was that a partner that you went in with and then you kind
No,
of?
that he's an employee. That's the senior manager over there now. He's running
Oh,
things.
nice,
His name's
nice.
Marcelo. He's in sub 2 as well.
Okay, awesome. That's cool, man. Honestly, like, even if, and this is just my opinion, okay? Caleb's not paying me to say this. Actually, he's not paying me at all. Not yet. I'm just kidding.
Fine.
But like, even if you're not planning on doing like creative real estate or anything like that, I mean, just listening to Caleb, I feel like he's the type of guy you could reach out to if you're like, I'm trying to build my business, and this guy's got it figured out remotely, it seems, So like, get some tips from him, see what he needs, see how you can help him out, and just pick his brain as much as you can, or start a podcast and put out a convincing post that draws him in, and boom.
That's what I need. I need to talk to more people about DOSGuard right now. It's the first month of launch, and so I want Google and the search engines to be like, what's this? Who's this dude? Due on sale? Huh. Let me start suggesting this to creative finance people.
There you go. There you go. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm glad to be the start of it. Let's get more people. Let's get you on more people's podcasts.
Yeah, we're defeating the due on sale clause, and it's just an extension of who I am and what my personal mission is. I want to make creative finance safe and ethical in as many
Okay.
ways as possible.
So now I want to ask, because I've heard about it, but I don't know enough. I know Pace has started the creative title company, stuff
Yep.
like that. Do you have a hand in that? Are you working with them, or do you
No,
think
he's
that
delegated
benefits
that
you?
to an attorney that has run title companies before, and so they're still very busy as of November 2024. They're still very busy launching and getting fully established in all states. And
Gotcha.
so I did have a conversation with them. Now's not the time for them. From the DOSGuard perspective, I would love to be like premier partners with them and
Right.
offering like I don't know. But they're like, not right now. Finish building, and then we'll have that discussion because we're in build mode as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Cool. So do
But
you think
we're
in the
using them
future
already.
that's gonna help not only your creative TC company but
Oh,
DOSGuard as well?
oh yeah. And so I'm only going to sell DOSGuard through partners, and that's going to be title companies and TC. So if the title company doesn't offer it, then a certified TC can. And so if you're a TC and you want to offer and be able to facilitate DOSGuard, there's a reason you have to be certified because we have special paperwork and processes that I want to make sure that you're engaging. And remember, my mission is to make creative finance ethical.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to make creative finance so that it can't be unethical. And that means you're going to have to bow to my standards because I'm going to set the bar up here.
There you go. I love it. Personal excellence. Oh, I did that backwards. Whatever.
Ooh, I like it.
There you
The more you know.
go. Well, man, that's amazing. I love to hear it. There's definitely things out because okay. Well, whatever. We still got time. I'll say it. So I've kind of like you had said, I've been in the sub two community for a year now, um, and still looking for that first deal.
Okay.
Um, so do you have any? I'm sure you have plenty, but maybe one or two pieces of advice for someone who's going out trying to find that first deal. What should we be on the lookout for? What type? Because you had mentioned doing things unethically, unknowingly. What are a couple examples of that so that we can make sure we avoid that?
regurgitating sales language that you've been taught without knowing the answers. I mean, go take action is a great way to get into things. And so, because so many people, I can't retrain people
Hmm.
on that sales tactics, but when they get the verbal yes and they bring it to me, I can say, okay, how did you get this under contract? Oh, you negotiated that. Here's what you need to know about that. It's enforceable this way and not in that way, and it works in this state and not in that state. And depending upon the loan type, so like knowing all the technical nerd stuff and helping you make informed decisions. That's how I can fix it. I can't stop the sales language, but a lot of times people will say, "Oh, don't worry about that. It's not a big deal," and it is, and it's the sales tactics. It's using false third-party stories. I'm not okay deceiving anybody. And so
Hmm.
when I tell stories, they're actually third-party stories, or I know a guy who did this, or somebody told me they did this, but I'm never going to say I did. Like other people will adopt other people's third-party stories and say, "Oh, I did a deal with blah blah blah," because it makes you sound good. It does, but
Right.
how about I just know somebody who did it, and this is a valid approach?
Yeah.
So those are the little things those are my personal standards, but avoiding unethical. I mean, read up on my contract write-ups page. I provide a lot of education. Actually, you'll see if you follow my Instagram and YouTube, you'll see a lot of my content is those nitty-gritty details, and you'll pick up a fact here and a fact here, and it's like that stuff starts to build, and you're like, this is the ethical way to do what I'm approaching. Got it.
Okay. So, long story short, become Caleb's best friend. Learn everything that he's ever put out there.
Exactly.
Um,
Memorize every word.
yes.
No, just you catch
Dress
the
like
drift though. If
him.
you spend enough time around somebody, you catch what they're after. And there,
Absolutely.
I have a fan following of people who are like, I love your stance on everything. Just period. And I'm like, well, thank you. I wouldn't
Okay.
change it even if you didn't.
There you go. Okay. Well, yeah. No, I'll definitely do that. I follow a lot of people, but I get
Well,
caught up in was that called doom scrolling or whatever, where you just
oh,
I don't know if
danger.
that's the right term, but
Yeah,
um, so I've been leaving my phone in the room for a good bit.
that's
I'm
good.
actually thinking of deleting apps and just using my desktop as how I get on social media.
Yeah, Instagram sure does penalize you if you use it on the computer. They do
Oh
not
yeah.
like it. What do you? But you said you're after your first deal. What do you have right now to work with? Is it
Uh,
time to spend on the phones, or what is it?
yeah. So for me, I started out calling agents with the Muds, and I did that for almost a year. Um, and then I decided, oh, I've learned enough. I'm gonna go out and do it on my own. Um, so now we're looking to buy obviously creative
Oh, so
deals.
you've been a part of deals. You're just wanting your own.
Right, right.
Oh,
I
okay. That's
I've
totally different than what I thought you meant. Like
oh
I thought
okay.
you'd been like spinning your wheels, trying a little bit of this and a little bit of that and all sorts of stuff, and like never touched a live deal.
Yeah. I mean like I've assisted in deals. I haven't been in any deals that have resulted in money, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. All right.
So um but yeah, so now it's me and my another firefighter buddy of mine. We're partnered up. He just got his real estate license. We're trying to reach out to wholesalers, buy deals from them. Um, and I'm just now starting, kind of like what you had said. I'm reaching out saying, hey, you got any dead leads? Let me, try and work them, stuff like
Yep.
that. But we're still fairly new into it. We had one we were looking at from another sub two student and just didn't end up working out with our potential private money partner. Seemed like it'd be a good deal, but there were some red flags. My money partner was like, I don't know, I want to back
Yeah.
out. So we might revisit that one if we find someone else. But for the most part, we're just gonna keep on trucking and trying.
Yeah. There's a lot of so what I'm finding is that we're entering a season or we have entered a season where the low interest loans that are worth pursuing sub two for the most part have so much equity that it's very difficult to get into them because people want their equity and they
Hmm.
can't afford to buy another house unless you give them a good chunk of their equity. And
Right.
so we're in a season of mid equity deals, is what I call them. And it's very difficult to make them work unless somebody's really motivated. And I have some training on cash, realtor, and keeping it. If you can get the seller to rule out cash, lowball,
Hmm.
realtor, why the MLS isn't working, and keeping it, like, why not just turn it into a cash flowing property for yourself, right? If they can rule out those three things, and if they tell you why, now you're in a position to say, here's how I can help you then. Because if you still want to sell and none of the traditional stuff works, guess what I'm a specialist at?
Gotcha.
And here's how I can help you. Instead of me saying, here's my terms I'm offering you, and that you've got to comply, it's like, what do you need? And let me help you achieve that. Is your goal to get to a new city? Do you need enough room for your next kid? Are you getting married? You need some cash for XYZ. How much cash do you need? You don't get permission to ask how much cash you need unless you're helping the person. That's an invasive question. They're never going to answer that. But if I'm on the same side of the table as you, I can say, okay, how much you need to accomplish this thing in life? How much cash is that going to take you? Because I'll see if I can come up with that much cash. I'm probably not your buyer, but I might be. But I know other investors, and we might be able to find a way to put this deal together for you.
Okay. Awesome. I really appreciate that. That helps. That helps. And I've heard other people say similar things, but just I think the way you put it was a little more um, understandable.
I tend to be very win-win
Yeah.
negotiator wise. I'm never going to get the best deal. That will never happen for me. And I've accepted it. And that's okay by me because I want to win with somebody else winning, not at the expense of somebody else not getting something that they wanted or needed.
Right.
And that's why I
Awesome.
don't set pricing at my company.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, Caleb, if unless you have something else you want to say real quick, mind if we move on to the last part of the show?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Awesome. So I just have a few questions. They're pretty basic. First, what made you decide to be on the podcast today?
I'm excited about DOSGuard. I'm so excited to be launching DOSGuard and coming out with this opportunity to listen. I can't call it insurance, but if I say that, you instantly understand what I'm talking about. I'm providing a guarantee against the due on sale, and then I'll fix it if it does happen. And so think of it as you will, but for FTC reasons, it's not insurance. That said, I'm happy to be offering that guarantee to people to make transactions safer. And so that's what I want to get out and tell the message about.
Okay, fantastic. Um, so somebody watches this podcast and they go, "Oh, I need to connect with Caleb. I want to reach out to him." What is something, or I mean, I feel like this has been the whole episode, really, but realistically, what value do you have that you can give that person coming looking for help?
Number one, I have trained 13 people to be masters of creative finance and ethical creative finance and sub two and seller finance and wraparound mortgage transactions. And so you can visit creativetc.io and walk in the front door. You can email support@creativetc.io and get some free consultation. My core values include lead with value. What is it? Take initiative and be resourceful. It spells table. Take initiative and be resourceful. Advocate for the client. Be relatable. Lead with value. Exhibit attention to detail. That's our 5 core values. And that's how we grade people in the company. We hire and fire and grade and give feedback based on those 5 criteria. Are you doing those things? Are you embodying the spirit of who we are? So lead with value is walk in the front door and ask your question.
Okay, there you go. All right. So on the flip side of that, somebody walks in the front door, and they have value for you. What would that look like?
That would look like you host a RIA and you want me to drive with my wife and 4 kids in our RV to hang out with you and speak at your RIA about, I hate your RIA because it sounds like urea, which from a medical perspective has to do with urine. Anyway,
No.
invite me to your real estate association. Invite me on your podcast. Let me talk to your audience. Let me train people that need to learn about creative finance. Put me in front of people. That's a huge value for me because I'm the guy that loves thinking and doing things and taking questions. I took questions from an attorney live in front of an audience and stood the test. I'm like, tell me if I'm wrong, man. He's like, nope, you're dead on, you're dead on, you're dead on. That's a great answer. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to go, not to debate so much as let's explore the topic together. I love exploring and theoretical stuff like that. I'm
Okay.
not actively buying real estate, actually. I've got a couple of deals, but every time I take on a deal, it draws me so far away from my mission of building and growing. I'm in a building phase of business. I want to grow and expand a portfolio of companies so that I can help people, I can raise the bar on what's ethical and how things are done. And I want to provide, I'm on a mission to provide 100 people with fulfilling work by building companies or buying companies that are known for excellence in what they do.
Okay. Fantastic. So, what's some advice you would have for someone kind of like what I had mentioned earlier, newer into the game? Um, yeah, what's some advice you got for them?
Beg, borrow, don't steal your way into a deal. Get experience. Again, I'm going to refer back to Proverbs. It says, get wisdom, get insight, get understanding. Like, spend your time and energy to do that. And that in creative finance, it's get a deal. It doesn't have to be your deal. You just need to get on the inside of somebody else's deal. How I did that was starting a transaction company because I had a bigger purpose in mind. Otherwise, I would have just done 5 transactions and like, cool, now I'm going to do this myself. So get involved in somebody else's transaction, find ways to provide value, do your studying, offer to call leads for them.
Okay. Fantastic. And then lastly, Caleb, where can people get in touch with you?
Creative TC is the fastest, easiest way to get in touch with my team. I want to be easy to find, but a little bit harder to reach personally, which I don't know. That
Makes sense.
sounds kind of dirtbaggish now that I say it out loud, but I can't help the most people when I take a ton of one-on-ones. And so I do want to help. If I'm helping somebody one-on-one, I want it to be recorded and we can just redact personal information and then we can publish. Because I want to do, if I give one-on-ones, I want to publish and make it available to other people. So you've got my screen name here, F. Caleb Christopher on Instagram is a great way to reach me. My YouTube, Caleb Christopher himself, or Creative TC is an easy way to get in, and they'll escalate to me if that's the way that goes.
Absolutely. And guys, I'll put those links in the description below. So if you're like, oh, I do want to reach out to him or I need help, I got questions about transaction, check the description. There'll be links. You can go there, go to his open office. As long as it's Monday through Friday.
That's right.
Okay.
You'll show up to an empty Zoom on Saturdays.
Yep. Yep. But it's always recording. So if you say anything silly, they'll know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm hosting a Zoom tomorrow for the Owners Club members, Pace Morby's other group, the Owners Club, and I'm going to show them how my virtual office works, how to manage remote teams, using breakout rooms. We have a cameras on policy, not because we're the police, but because it's the polite thing to do when somebody wants to come talk to you. If your camera's off and they show
Talk
up to a
face to
room,
face.
they're like, hey, Corey, are you there? Because your camera's off. It's all awkward for me. Like, don't put me in that position. Now, that goes back to
Right.
core values, right? Lead with value and exhibit attention to detail and be relatable. And it's really hard to be relatable when your camera's off.
That's true. That's true. There's also something else to be said when you're talking to someone like right now. This would be one thing if we were just audio. I wouldn't be able to tell like your body language or anything like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you
See?
wouldn't see me winking.
That's right. So you gotta know. You gotta know when people are flirting with you. That's the biggest thing. Anyways, guys, Caleb, that's my show. That's all I got. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
That being said, guys, let me know in the comments below what you thought about the show, how great you thought Caleb's setup is. Like, that sword looks awesome, but
My
you
name's
also know.
blocking it. Can you turn my name off?
I don't think I
Got
can.
this. I got this green light.
Yeah, but looks cool anyways. The ship, all that. I mean, he's
Yeah, it's not a Zoom background. It's
he's a
the
pirate to be.
yeah. Oh, I never associated the sword and the ship at the same time. Yeah, I guess so. Hi, little girl. And I'm a family man. I got 4 kids.
There you go. There you go. All girls?
No, 2 boys, then 2 girls.
Okay. About to have 3 girls.
Oh my.
So, yeah. Hi. That's okay. Anyways, guys, if you like this show, like and subscribe. Come back next week. Every Monday, we drop these amazing interviews with amazing people. And that being said, guys, until next week, peace be with you. Love you guys. Be safe. Have a wonderful week.